Which functions have graphs that are steeper than f of x equals 3x squared? So I have 5 options here. Which one of these are steeper than this function? Chloe is here with her latest cheat sheet notes. She wants you to know that a power function is written in the form f of x equals a times x to the n power. A is any non-zero real number, n is a positive integer. When a is negative, it actually flips over the x-axis. When you take the absolute value of a and it's greater than 1, it's going to be steeper than your parent function. If the absolute value of a is less than 1, it will be less steep than your parent function. And to determine the degree of a function by looking at a table of values, you're going to find the difference between the values of your f of x and continue this until they are all the same. If n is even, you would use this chart here. If n is odd, you would use this chart here to figure out n behavior. Now that we have Chloe's cheat sheet notes, let's go ahead and find out which one of these options here is steeper than f of x equals 3x squared. So I'm going to start by showing you what the parent function x squared looks like. Remember, the parent function is you're just going to take away that a or that 3 in the front, and that's the parent function. So this is what x squared looks like, and down here in the corner is what negative x squared would look like if we had to flip it over the x-axis. But on our problem, there's just a positive 3x squared, so we're going to be staying in quadrants 1 and quadrants 2. But we have a 3 in front, so what does that do in comparison to our parent function? I'm going to start by looking at my a. My a is what is in front of the x squared, or my 3. So my a equals 3. Now, a is any non-zero real number, and if n is a positive integer, then this is a power function, and n is 2, which is a positive integer. So therefore, we do have a power function, and a is positive. So we're not going to be flipping it. It's just going to stay in quadrants 1 and quadrants 2. Now I'm going to go ahead and look at the absolute value of a. So the absolute value of a is greater than 1. Our function will be steeper than the parent function. If the absolute value of a is less than 1, it will be less steep than the parent function. So the absolute value of a is the absolute value of 3, which is just equal to 3. And 3 is greater than 1. Therefore, we are going to have it steeper than f of x equals x squared. So what does steeper mean? Well, if we look here at our function, this is how we're talking about the steepness. If we were going to make this function steeper, we would actually be drawing it somewhere here in the center. And on this side, the left side in quadrant 2 would also have to be steeper. So what I just drew in the yellow is our f of x equals 3x squared, or just my estimation of what it would look like. Because remember, we're not actually really graphing it with actual coordinates. I was just giving a comparison of the two. So it's a little bit steeper than the parent function. Now, if it is steeper than that, how are we going to determine which one of these over here on my left is steeper than the yellow line that I just drew here? Well, if we want it to be steeper than this, our a will have to be bigger than 3, because we have to have a bigger than the number. If it was bigger than 1, it's steeper. And on ours, we're now going to have to be bigger than 3, because it was a 1 to begin with. Now we're comparing it to 3. So I'm just going to write down here that if we take an absolute value of a and it's greater than 3, it will be steeper than 3x squared. And if we know that the absolute value of a is less than 3, it will be less steep than our function f of x equals 3x squared. So if I come over here, I'm going to just go ahead and take the absolute value of every single a. So my a is -4, absolute value of -4 is 4. My a on this one is 1, so absolute value of 1 is 1. My a is -2 here, absolute value of that is 2. My a is 5 on this fourth one, absolute value of that is 5. And my a on my last one is -3, absolute value of that is 3. So we are looking for the ones that are steeper than. We are going to be looking where absolute value of a is greater than 3. So which ones are greater than 3? 4 is greater than 3 and 5 is greater than 3. So we know that this first one here is going to be steeper. 1 is less than 3, therefore it's going to be less steep. 2 is less than 3, so that would be less steep. 5 we know is steeper. And this last one here, 3, that's exactly the same. So we are actually, it's not steeper or it's not less steep. It would just be the same, that last one. So on this one here, Our two answers would be h of x equals negative 4x squared and n of x equals 5x squared.